We're coming at you live. This is the Trampled Underfoot podcast show with your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. And it's a lovely Tuesday evening here on the planet Earth. And what's going on?
Oh man, just busier than a set of jumper cables at a redneck picnic. You know how it goes. Always jumping. I keep telling Linda I need to go get a job so I can get some rest, but I don't know if I want to punch the clock anymore.
I do want to say that in the news, and it's funny because one thing about Florida, it's very hot all the time.
Oh yeah.
But um, except for maybe one time they say they have on record, we've never gone above 100 degrees. Now, a lot of people across the country would think, well, heck, we get more than that, so we must be warmer than Miami or whatever. Um, and that might be true in spurts and this or that, but because of our mugginess, the compensation factor is terrible. Like it's in your face.
Yeah,
It's
look at the heat index. Don't just look at the air temperature. Look at the heat index. Yeah,
it's hot all the time here.
right.
But I read on the news that England, and I don't know if you came across this or not, but England is seeing it's setting records for. England is hotter right now than Florida. And if that's the case, I would assume minus the humidity, it's probably a dry heat roughly.
Well, I don't know. They're an island nation. I mean, so I don't know what the humidity level is like.
Vapor. There's a vapor. I don't know because I'm not like a what do you call these people?
Meteorologist, yeah.
I'm not, but there's a certain thickness to the air here that is, you can slice it with a butter knife as you're walking.
That was a bit of culture shock when we lived down south and back east. The closest we ever got to you was we lived in Savannah, Georgia. And the humidity there was, I mean, when it's only 95 degrees, fine, but it's also 90% humidity, and it's like you can see the air. It's that thick. It's like, oh my gosh, it's oppressive. It really is bad.
When I went up to Chicago, which I stayed for about a week or so, for some conferences, or I'm sorry, for some I was being taught some things with my uncle for a business and this and that years and years and years and years ago. Requirement. It was so cold and whatever. So when I come back, just after a week, and I've lived in Miami all my life, and just after a week flying back, when the plane landed and the door opened and we walked through that passageway to get to the airport, when the door opened, it's as if a wave of vapor smashed into us. And I said, oh, this is what I've been living in all my life. Because you can't tell unless you're outside and come back properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Steve Nealon says, welcome to my world. Yeah. I've not lived in Mississippi, but I've lived in Alabama and Georgia, Tennessee, and it's all humid and muggy. Big time.
Except that they do get colder times of the year than we do. So
yes.
Well, there's some relief.
We experienced something similar to your experience after coming back from Chicago. We left Savannah, Georgia, and I was so glad to get out of the heat/humidity. And we spent a month traveling up and down the West Coast on our way to Hawaii. We got to Hawaii, the plane landed, and just as you described, opened up the door, and it was like sauna. Yeah. Oh my God. Oppressive humidity and hot.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no, we're in for 3.5 years of this. Well, unbeknownst to me, they were in the middle of a higher pressure system coming from the south. And that day we landed, they set their all-time record high. It was 95 degrees.
Jeez.
The next day, the weather shifted. High pressure came in from the northeast, like it normally does, and it's humidity 50%. It was 83. It was beautiful, not oppressively hot, not muggy, and we enjoyed the heck out of the entire 3 years we were there because it wasn't like that.
Wow. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
but it is a hot year.
Yeah.
I think that's across the world.
Mm, Well, for us, it's actually pretty cool. We've only had a couple of days over 100 degrees so far this year, and we're heading into the tail end of July. We've had, I want to say 3 days of 100 degrees or more, but it's been in the mid to upper 90s. And by this time last year, we had already been over 110. So we had 5 straight days of 110 or more, and we had 2 days of 115. So it hasn't been that hot to us, comparatively speaking.
It's weird how further north you get those temperatures of 110 and so on. It is
Well,
weird.
what it is we're sitting low in altitude. I mean, we're surrounded by mountains, and most of the West Coast, except right along the coastline itself, most of the West Coast is higher elevation. We were sitting at close to 5,000 feet in Nevada. We're down at 1,300 feet here. So up in the mountains, it's nice and cool the way it's supposed to be. But down here, we get that hot, oppressive, direct heat, fry an egg on the hood of your car type of heat. So,
The reason we don't reach those heights is because we're a peninsula with ocean on both sides, and so that combats the you know
well,
pervasive. Yeah.
now
Well,
that's something I've never asked you about. Do you perpetually have wind there? Is it windy there most of the time?
no, but up in the in the greater, as far as I know, according to what I've heard all my life from the weather people, they always say, but luckily, it's hot as hell. You're all gonna suffer through the day, but luckily we have ocean to either side, so those winds help combat us getting over the. But it's not windy because we're 100 miles wide roughly
Uh,
from one ocean to the other, and
right.
although that's not a lot, it's still sufficient for. We might get wind every now and again, but generally speaking, it's not a
Yeah.
windy place at
Well, the
all.
East Coast is completely different from the West Coast for sure, because the windiest place you will find on the West Coast is on the coast. I mean,
Yeah,
because there's nothing between the way the wind blows here on the West, there's nothing between the Arctic Circle and you.
yeah.
So that wind comes whipping down across the ocean and comes right at you, following the jet stream. And
Yeah.
so we don't get it too bad because we're down here in the Shadow Valley. Uh, but when it's 105 degrees and there's no breeze at all, I mean, it's like sitting in an oven. So,
Well, imagine somebody sitting in the middle, living in the middle of like a place like India.
mm, yeah.
I mean, it's just
And and this goes back to that discussion we were having in the green room before you push the button. That's where that whole Mad Dogs and Englishmen go out in the noonday sun thing comes in, because out in the middle of the hottest part of the day, they're not out in the middle of it working. Only Mad Dogs and Englishmen were out doing it. So it's like, yeah, nope, taking a nap. Sorry. So
um,
okay, there's JP. He can tell us about the UK and the humidity over there. He says it's a breeze in Miami. It swooped Eloy's facial hair right off. We've been hearing about kind of a heat wave over there in the UK. Jamie, is it pretty humid over there, or is it it's a dry heat like we used to say in Nevada? I think that was a Nevada baby's first words, but it's dry heat.
yeah.
So, I don't know. I never got over to the UK. I wanted to, but we never had the time and the money at the same time, so I can't really speak to
It's
it.
horrible.
Okay, dude, it's horrible. Yeah, but is that the heat or the humidity, or does it matter?
I don't
And
know
you're
that
right there on the beach, so.
I don't know that they have what we would consider humidity here. I don't. Then again, I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, Jamie says the last time I felt heat like this was in Miami, but I actually liked that heat. I was on vacation. Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable thing to have to live in an environment where the temperature is above like 80 something degrees is warm and it's okay and it's not a
Mhm.
problem. Um, but once you get into the 90s, it's kind of like, oh, well, why? So and people become grouchy according to externalities like that.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot to do with people's behavior or moods when it comes to external things applying to them, like temperature and whatever.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like right now, I'm sitting in my house and I could still feel like hot vapor. And I bet you if I come off a plane,
Hmm.
I would know exactly what the heck's going on. So it is a little bit too much. The best climate that I ever experienced was in California, by far.
It depends on where you go. You get down in the Central Valley around Sacramento. They're on the rivers where the San Joaquin, the Sacramento, down in the Delta area. There, it's pretty hot and muggy. It's I won't say it's comparable to Miami, but it's closer to Miami than anywhere else. You get away from the Central Valley and you tend to get into less humidity. It's much, much drier and it doesn't feel so bad. It's saying here, I just looked it up, according to AccuWeather in London, it is currently 68 degrees. It's 2 in the morning and the humidity is 80%. Now, the humidity does increase during the day, but or excuse me, it increases at night. I'm sorry. That's usually the way it happens. But
I don't, when I was in California,
mm,
um, I remember it was weird. When it was hot, I felt okay
yeah.
because there was no thickness to it. It was just hot. And it wasn't that crazy hot. I
Mhm.
really, it didn't bother me at all. And at night, it cooled down to a point where you could get dressed nice to go out. Um, Whereas here, I mean, if you get dressed nice to go out, your your your
Yeah.
undies are gonna be, you could wring them like a
Yeah.
rag.
That's the other problem with the humidity. That's something that I never got used to living in Georgia was you take a shower, you work up more of a sweat drying off than if you just threw on some shorts and went outside and drip dried.
You could you
You
could
know?
you could wring you could wring your leopard print undies, and it'll be, you
Yeah,
could you could
really.
ring your Mickey Mouse official Disneyland undies, and in any event, there is a difference. There is a difference, and
Linda said just got back from Monterey, California yesterday. It was in the 60s and 70s there because they're right on Monterey Bay, right on the Pacific Ocean. Then 107 degrees, 80 miles inland on the way home. Yeah, that's up in the Central Valley. They were right in the thick of it. And thick is the word for it because the humidity is rotten too. But yeah, the UK's had temperatures over 100. And if it's running that kind of humidity, yeah, it's pretty nasty. So yeah.
now
Jamie says we don't have AC here. Usually we only have to open a window. Well, it's time to set a precedent and get AC.
they don't have a lot of, in Spain, or at least from my cousins, maybe not all of them do it, but a lot of people go camping during
Yeah.
the summer.
Yeah.
And there's camping facilities.
Yeah.
And people set up permanent that they'll pay for to maintain their whole, and then they have barbecues and this and that. And it's
Yep.
just their camp. And I guess it has to do also with the heat of the summer as well. But
Mhm.
I don't know that everybody has air conditioning over there, or many people at all
I
have it.
Nobody that I knew of in Germany had air conditioning, but Germany sits a little bit further north, and summer was like 2 weeks long. So it really wasn't worth it. But it's funny to me, everybody had air conditioning in their car. Nobody had it in their house, but everybody had it in their car. And
Interesting.
I don't understand that.
Well, there's also elevation. So
Yeah.
in even in the south of Spain, but in the north of Spain, it's mountainous. So
Yeah.
there's elevation. It gets colder the higher you go.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. But not everybody lives all the way up. You know, people usually end up in the big metropolis cities or whatever you,
Mhm.
and those are lower sitting in valleys and
Yeah.
on the coast, and the temperatures, apparently they're having hot weather as well.
Oh boy. Yes. Oh, are
Yeah.
they ever. So
So, anyways, I want to try out a few what you'd call, I guess it's a quiz to see if you can guess what, according to your understanding, the knowledge that you bring to the table, um, if the statements that I say are true or false.
okay.
Now, I haven't looked at them
Mhm.
except the first one, which I did. Um,
Okay, so this is true or false. There's no gray area. There's no maybe. There's no.
no, there's no
Okay.
gray area.
Okay.
So it's a little list. We'll try it. Let's see if you guys out there
Mhm.
can play along as well to see if you no cheating though.
Mhm.
So I'll do the first one. It's either true or false, basically, from these
Okay.
questions. So the first one is: seahorses have stomachs for the absorption of nutrients from food. True or false?
Well, I would imagine they're just like us. True. I mean, like most animals, in that they take in, eat food and then digest it and what have you.
Okay. The answer is, and this one I did see, so I can't play. And
Mhm.
obviously, I'm going to be honest about. You're going to have to take my word for it. This one I
Yeah.
did see, so I can. But I'd like to answer them as well, just to test my thing. I'm going to click the button, and it has a flip over thing.
Okay.
I know the answer to this one already, so it's false. Seahorses don't have stomachs, just intestines.
So it literally goes right through them. Okay.
How weird is that, though?
Well, I mean, nature is nature. Nature is nature.
All right.
Jamie says false. Now, is he saying the answer is false or is no? I'm kidding. I'm not going to start that.
All right. Camels have 3 sets of eyelashes. True or false?
3 sets of eyelashes?
Mm-hmm.
Never thought about it, really.
Yeah, whoever spends time thinking
Yeah,
about.
it's one of those things. Okay, in the interest of brevity, I'll just say, well, they're desert animals. Yeah, okay, true. They help keep the sand and dust out of their eyes.
I'm going to go out on a limb because this world is crazy. I'm going to go with true as well. I haven't flipped it over. I'm going to go with true as well. But it does seem odd to have 3 eyelashes. But I mean, so I'm going to go with
Well,
that as well.
nature provides. I mean, you adapt to your surroundings and what have you. And if you're in a dusty, dirty environment, I could see where having 3 rows of eyelashes would be a benefit to keep the dust out of your eyes.
Yeah. Thank
Why not?
goodness you're not gonna, because I just imagine adapting where there's eyelashes on your butthole. Let's just continue. Like something that's so useless, but it evolved into, okay. I'm gonna press the thing to flip it. It's true. Camels
Okay.
have 3 eyelashes.
Does
Okay,
it have any kind of an explanation, or it just says true?
it just
No.
says true.
Okay. All right.
Um, there are 5 zeros in 100,000. True or false?
True.
I'm gonna say true.
I think so. Yeah. 5 zeros.
I'm gonna say 6. Right? Is it 100,000? Wait,
Well, you're the one that read it.
I'm gonna say false. True. Damn it.
Yeah. The first digit would be the 1.
Yeah, I added an extra 1. You're right. It's 5. Boy. Um, there are stars and zigzags on the flag of America. Stars and zigzags. I'm gonna say. Well, I'm gonna wait for your answer because I might just cheat and follow yours. My first impression is that zigzags sounds false to me.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what your definition of a zigzag is, but no, I don't think that. I think that's false as well.
It just the zigzag. It would have leaked in to our national consciousness
Yeah.
at some point, but they're gonna screw us. That's why I don't like playing. Okay, false. Stars
Yeah.
and stripes. Thank goodness. I mean, when things start making you question what you already know, I guess it's a good exercise. But because
Yeah.
you might not know a certain little weird angle on something that's so obvious, and that's where
Yeah.
if you add the two numbers on the opposite sides of dice together, the answer is always 7.
True.
I didn't know that either way, and I've used dice for D&D, but I guess I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna
Yeah, because
true.
I played craps way too much when I lived in Nevada, and that's one of the things about dice. If you take the number six dots on the opposite side is 1, 3 the opposite side's 4, 2 the opposite side's 5.
The answer is true.
Mhm.
New York is named, or I'm sorry, New York is nicknamed the Big Orange. I'm gonna say false.
That's false. That's Big Apple.
Right. And false. It's the Big Apple.
See, now it would make sense to me that even though you don't have a lot of citrus right there in town, that Miami would be the Big Orange. That would make sense to me. I mean,
Yeah.
Atlanta, the Big Peach,
Miami is actually the nickname for Miami is the Magic City.
the Magic City. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for it being the Magic City
Mm-hmm.
is that in its history, every time a disaster has happened, within a short time, it's come back full throttle and become even more, I guess
Intense.
you could say that, or more economically viable. Like it's increased, so they call
Yeah.
it the Magic City, and people have
Okay.
so
Yeah. Here we go. JP wants to know where's the big cheese. I'm thinking that would have to be somewhere in Wisconsin because that's cheese country there.
yeah.
So Madison, maybe. I don't know.
The human body is full of friendly bacteria with
Mhm.
organisms on your skin and in our guts helping keep our bodies humming. I'm going to say
True.
yes.
True. Yes. If it weren't for these bacteria, we wouldn't be able to live.
And this is what they answer, true. And then they add this. After Pope Formosus died in AD 896, his successor had him disinterred, dressed in papal robes and set up to face what?
Trial. Yes.
What does that have to do with
It doesn't have anything to do with bacteria or anything, but yes, those two hated each other as cardinals, and
but it doesn't that was
it
whoa.
doesn't have anything to do with the doesn't have anything to do with the bacteria. No.
Okay, so scallops don't have good vision. I'm gonna say yes.
Wow.
What
I know they've got like a bazillion eyes.
do they?
Yeah, scallops have a lot of eyes. I,
Scallops
I would
are the little oval ones, black ones, right?
um well they're multitude
Wait,
of colors because they're a different species. Scallops are
crustaceans, right?
similar to a clam. They're mollusks, similar to a clam.
But they're the black ones that are like oval like that, right? that you open.
Those are mussels.
Oh, those are mussels. Scallops. They're the little chunky. All I know is their end products.
Yeah. I used to
So,
have my dad, thinking that I was going to grow up to be smarter than I am, um, got encyclopedias, and he had all the Time Life nature books and everything else. And I remember there was one full page shot of a scallop
mhm.
in the ocean. And it had, I mean, along the rim of the shell, just a whole row of eyes and itty bitty tentacles sticking out that they would filter water for food.
Oh wow.
So I
Let's look at
I
the
don't know.
answer.
I'm gonna say that they have poor eyesight. So
You say poor?
yeah.
Well, if you said a bunch of eyes, to me that sounds like
Well,
good.
but spiders have 7 eyes, 6 or 7 eyes, and they have really rotten eyesight.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and go on the contrary just to see. One of us
Okay.
will obviously. So well, you were correct. False. Scallops have as many as 100 simple eyes.
Yeah.
They're frequently blue.
Yes.
So they're not giving more explanation than that. So what you said
Mhm.
is the correct one. The dinosaur with the longest neck for its body size is the Mamenchiasaurus Holconesus. I can't. I'm gonna skip this one because I can't even pronounce it.
I was going to say Brachiosaurus, but okay.
The deepest part of the ocean is about 36,200 feet down, which is more like 25, which is more like 25 Empire State Buildings.
The Marianas Trench, I think, is the deepest part, and I don't remember how deep it is. I'll say true. I don't remember how deep it is, but it's down there.
I'm gonna go with true as well, just because they gave all that info. They could be cheating us and trying to trick us,
Yeah.
but it's such a detailed explanation. And here we go with if they're going to trick us or not. And the answer is true.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure how deep it is, but
This is weird, dude. Your hand has a built-in snuff box. The hell? I don't know what that
I don't
means.
even know what that means.
Uh, I'm gonna click the thing just to see. True. I don't know what the hell
Okay.
that means. The moon is just 50% of the mass of the Earth.
I thought it was smaller than that. I'll say false because I think it's smaller than that.
I think it's smaller than that as well. So I'm gonna agree with that. And yes, false. It's only 1%.
Okay.
Toilet paper is a relatively recent invention, but the ancients still had to wipe. Roman philosopher Seneca, who lived from 4 BC to 65 AD, recorded the use of a sponge attached to a stick that did the job. I'm going to say true, although they're simplifying the situation.
I will say true as well.
True.
And that's where the phrase getting the short end of the stick came from.
According to some students of that,
Mm-hmm.
researchers and whatnot, the sponge found in bathhouses themselves, um, the conventional thinking is that the sponge sitting next to the row of toilets, um, is that everybody grabbed it and rubbed their their stinker and then the next guy would come around and grab that the stinker and do this, and then the next person, and that women, children, men, and that thing. But what people are saying is that is a horrible interpretation of what's going on, and they have their reasoning, but the conclusion is that those were used to clean the edge of the actual uh, not that everybody was poking that and wiping with it. It was used.
Well, The also depends on your definition of sponge, because not all sponge, the word sponge doesn't necessarily mean that thing from the ocean that we pull out that's really absorbent. Like a gauze pad is also called a sponge.
Yeah.
So it may or may not have been that sea creature. It could very well have been something else, some other material.
Yeah. Well,
So
but the point is, well,
yeah.
imagine. I mean, you can only use gauze for that one time until.
Well, and that gone. Yes, exactly.
So
Disposable.
so in any event, it says true. So nearly 3% of the ice in the Antarctic glaciers is, what the hell, dude? I'm gonna read it again, and you tell me. I'm gonna say false as hell. Nearly 3% of the ice in Antarctic glaciers is penguin urine. These people. It might be true. I'm gonna go with false because it sounds.
Yeah, I'm going to say false as well, because penguins are mainly seabirds. They're out at sea most of the time.
I mean, well, let's see what it is. I'm not even gonna. And if they're right, this world is stranger than we. Holy crap! It's.
True.
They say it's true.
Well, when you got to go, you got to go.
Um. Here we go. Apes can't laugh.
I I'm going to say false. I'm going to say false.
I'm gonna say true,
Mhm.
but with this caveat:
Mhm.
they the externalization of a laugh. Get
Mhm.
out of here. That they may not be able to produce that, although they may have an internal laugh. Because I've read that one thing that's a big contrast between humans is exactly us right now. Eyebrow lifting, tweaking of
Mhm.
the apes. Their faces don't have the expressiveness um, ability that a human. We have
Yeah,
so
not as
many,
much. Yeah.
so they compensate by other things. So I'm
Mhm.
going to say maybe internally. So I'm going to go say no. Well, you were right. False. All apes laugh when they are tickled. Very good. So apes laugh. But I wonder, I'm going to have to look up apes laughing. Is it like, or
Yeah.
is it,
Well, there's a difference in, say, a chimp being trained to react a certain way to a certain thing. But there are videos, shot from, way, way far away, National Geographic, David Attenborough, stuff like that, of chimps, interacting with one another. And if one of them finds something to be humorous, the fall down and
you're
kind
right.
of thing.
But see, but that's, well, no, not the ha ha.
Well,
Uh-huh.
not like we would, but the screech and the holler and things like that.
See, well, that's what I was agreeing to, but I said false at the end because of the externalization vocal part. So I decided to go on the contrary to make it,
Mhm.
challenging here. But apparently, they categorize it as such.
Yeah.
So
Linda's got one here. She said a gorilla that was taught sign language would tie her owner's shoelaces together, then sign "Chase me." That was, I want to say that was Coco in there in California, the one that they taught something like 1,500 signs in American Sign Language. And that was one story that I'd heard about, just a little anecdote that I'd heard about, that she tied one of her trainer's shoelaces together and then signed "Chase me."
the ape thing is a very interesting situation because
Hmm.
actually the other night, last night, I was on a debate thing about the question of, are humans apes? And this these people are very anti-religion and this and that,
Hmm.
but to a fault, because one thing is to be personally anti something,
Mhm.
and another thing is to outwardly chase it down, chase that thing that you are anti, or that you're against, to obliterate it and stuff. And so they've taken, to task the the destruction in as best as they can of the pillars of religion in their thing. And I went up on there, and but my I wasn't going to contest
Mhm.
that we fall, that human beings within the field of archaeology, science, all these, um, have used a category called primates, in which they've added humans due to, within that category, all these similarities, that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
saw fit to place us in. Um, and so I went at them from a different direction because of their obvious bias, um, in the context of all that. But anyways, what I told them was that yes, we fall into this category according to the people that make such categories within the world of science. That speaks nothing to the the big answer of what came first, the chicken or the egg,
Mhm.
um, you know, at all.
Yeah.
And so we went on from there. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing.
Well, they need to speak with a few biologists and a few zoologists and anthropologists. We are primates. We're all members of the primates,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that we are or aren't apes. It's just like, look at canines. Wolves are wolves. Dogs are dogs. Dingoes are dingoes. Hyenas are hyenas. They're all canines, but a wolf is not a dog, and a dingo is not a hyena, and none of them are wolves. They're different, you know. Felines, um, your house cat, your next door neighbor's house cat is a feline. So is a lion. So is a tiger. So is an ocelot and a civet. But your
But they're not the
neighbor's
same
cat is
species.
not a tiger. They're different species, you know.
That's an interest. That's a good point. I mean, because the suggestion, the problem with, so, because people have to add categories,
Mm-hmm.
those categories are, exposed to the world and people that will use those categories to explain the world around them as they see fit,
Mm-hmm.
according to how truthful and honest they are with their bias and stuff. So you could take
Sure.
something that's a category, and such as this ape thing, and then run with it in order to, backtrack and fill in the blanks to what you want
Mm-hmm.
for reality to
Right.
be, in order to justify your thing. And
Right.
that's kind of, and all humans do that to one degree or the other, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we all justify from our vantage point as best as we can. But
Right.
the
Well,
ape,
go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
Go
no.
ahead.
Well, okay, so the ape thing is that they take it to the limit, because there are trees, genetic trees, which bring, that go from human back in time,
Mm-hmm.
and then the introduction of, like, the Neanderthal with human, and then it keeps going and
Mm-hmm.
going to a point where, boom, apes are a branch
Yeah.
that broke off, and they keep going. You end up with, like, a fish or something like that.
Right.
But, um, the trouble with all that is that all things share, like, up to 90+% DNA, like, all
Yeah.
things across the board.
Right. If you just look at numbers, you could say that we are 41% daffodil
Yeah,
because we share that much in our genetic makeup.
yeah, probably more.
But well, it's right at 41%.
Okay.
So that's the only one that I know for sure. It's the only one I remember anyway.
Okay.
Um, but but that doesn't make us plants,
No.
you know. So yeah, wolves and your next door neighbors on the other side's pug do have common ancestors, but you do split away so far that eventually they become two different things.
Right. And
Yeah.
my personal so look, I don't know either way. Because there's a religious, so they're doing the battle against religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And religion is something that is not, the same category, thought wise, human experience wise, as all out observable science.
Mm-hmm.
And the arguments that they've been pushed up against, against them from like really capable people in the world of religion, is that science is what you can observe,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot observe where anything split off or this or that. You can observe that there's DNA shared, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's because we all share a creator that
Mm-hmm.
used the tools that he used, and so all life has,
Sure.
so there's arguments for, and it goes into this distant past where it's not even cloudy, and it's just you shall not pass
Yeah.
from the, you can't cross those because we can't, but these people,
Everybody has to speculate.
everybody has to speculate. And
Mm-hmm.
so because everybody has to speculate, um you know
Well,
it is what it is, but to not admit that it's speculation going from a certain point
well,
back.
sure. And that's why they do the whole thing. It's for shock value. And if they have to admit that it's speculation, they loses some of that shock value.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything is speculation after in terms of this,
Mm-hmm.
um after the things that we can observe.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And
And
going back
it's
to that,
only when we find something older are we able to advance our knowledge a little bit. And we have to keep asking why and how.
yeah,
And we can kind of sort of figure out when, but we still have to figure out the why, the how, the who, and all the other good questions. So,
yeah,
yeah. When you get to a point, you hit the brick wall and it's 100% speculation because nobody has the answer. And anybody that claims to have the answer is selling something.
yeah, yeah. So I had that argument, and I actually had that
Mm-hmm.
position that you just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, of, you know it you can speculate, but you must, if you're honorable, you must be ready to admit, honest to yourself and others, and particularly to yourself, because who are you lying to, in order to gain, a win. You have to have the humility to say, well, we're in the realm of speculation, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we weren't, you could put the text or the information right in
Mm-hmm.
front of me and say, no, 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 here it is. But nobody could do that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Because how do you prove it? You can't.
Yeah.
And if you have any conclusion, it has to be based on speculation because nobody has the data. Nobody. So,
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll do one
what
more.
was
Yeah, we'll do one more.
next?
Actually, there's two of them. A snail can sleep for 3 months.
I got very slow metabolism, so why not? Sure, why not?
I'm gonna go with yours as well. I'm not gonna overthink it.
Yeah.
Damn it, Mark! You led me into a damn trap.
Was it false?
It's false.
Oh, okay.
It says up to 3 years. What?
Up to 3 years? Well, you heard the old joke about a guy sitting in his living room. He hears a knock on the door. He gets up and he opens the door, and there's nothing there but a snail looking up at him. He picks up the snail and throws it in the neighbor's yard across the street from him. About 2 weeks later, he's sitting in his living room. There's a knock on the door. He opens the door, and the snail's down there going, "What?"
Well, now we know. 3 darn years, boy. Okay. Your nose and sinuses produce almost 1 liter of mucus a day, which you swallow? I'm gonna say yes.
Well,
They're gonna screw us again.
it's weird. It's weird. Why not?
Okay.
It's weirdness.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. It's weird as well. They're gonna screw us, dude. I know it. These people.
Mhm.
True. Okay, they did.
Okay. All
See,
right.
I'm very
So
negative.
let's end it on a gross out. Again, shock value.
I
So,
got one more.
oh, okay.
Last one.
Okay.
Tasting is never determined by what you're smelling.
False.
I'm gonna say. Okay, let me read it again for myself. Tasting is never determined by what you're smelling. Are they trying to say that what you taste is different? It doesn't connect with what you smell. Is that what I'm
No,
reading?
the tasting is never determined by what you're smelling. So what you smell is related to what you taste, and what you taste is related to what you smell.
Well,
We,
it's related because it's coming from the same item, but I could agree to a situation where something smells bad but tastes good. You see where I'm going with it?
I do see where you're going with that, but taste and smell are related,
Okay.
and there's an easy way to prove it to yourself. But go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna press the darn button, but
Mhm.
I feel
So,
like I want to go
so
to
I'm
your.
saying false is what I'm saying to that.
Oh, you're saying false. That
Mhm.
taste is determined by what you're smelling.
Yes.
I feel like you have reasoned it out more than I have because I had trouble just reading the darn thing. So I feel like going with yours to be safe, but at the same time, I feel like in my bias that somehow I'm right in thinking that they're disconnected. I'm
You
gonna
got
take a chance in myself.
you got a 50-50 shot at it.
I know, I know. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna press the darn button. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna be disappointed again, but let's. I'm gonna false.
Yep. It's
Did you
false.
say false? Yours was
I
false,
said
right?
false. Yes.
Dang it,
Taste and
Mark.
smell are connected. And the way you can prove it to yourself is, and you need another person for this, somebody you trust.
Right.
Cut a piece of apple and a piece of pear. Close your eyes or cover your eyes and hold your nose. And take a bite out of each one, and you will not be able to tell which is which. Because the apple has a smell, the pear has a smell, and they have a similar enough texture to where you really can't tell the difference as you take a bite and chew.
I have, even though I was wrong. Is there no place for things that might taste, might smell gross, but taste wonderful, or might smell
There
great and taste gross?
there is room. There is room for that for sure. But usually things that smell bad we find distasteful and won't eat. And
That's
that's
right.
kind of nature's warning. That's kind of evolution. Of
Yeah.
if it smells bad, you don't want to touch it. You want to get away from it. But that's not always the case.
Well,
Like durian fruit smells like bad case of athlete's foot, but there are some people that just love the flavor.
yeah.
I've never smelled it. I've never tasted it. I don't have an opinion on it. But if it's that controversial, I've lived without it for 61 years. I can do it without it for another 61 if it comes to that.
Okay. Well, this is what
So,
they said. We'll just wrap this part of it. They said
okay.
false, and then they said this: 80% of what you're tasting is determined by what you're smelling. So
Mhm.
there is a 20% wiggle room according to them.
Yes, there is a connection. Now, there is a condition called asnosmia. An asnomic person does not have a sense of smell. And according to what I've read about such people, they will say that certain things just have no flavor to them because the flavor is so subtle that olfactory, the smell of it is a real boost when it comes to flavor. Not everything, but there are some things that are just the flavor is so subtle that it tastes almost like nothing without the smell.
Interesting.
So
Okay, that was that.
that was that. Okay, well, I have something that is in a minor way kind of related to what we were talking about with the evolutionary thing and uh, people and just strange things when it comes to people. Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Francois Brunel?
No.
He is a photographer who lives in Montreal, Canada, and he has been fascinated for years with doppelgangers and lookalikes.
Okay.
And so he has been on a quest for the last several years to photograph as many doppelgangers and lookalikes as he can. And he's very, very picky, very, very choosy about his subjects. Nobody is paid. They do this for free of their own free will if they choose to become a part of it. And what they get out of it is they get some photographs of because they come in for a 2-hour photo session, and he'll give them some of the photographs and a copy of the book that he's publishes. And I'm going to try something different here on this. I don't think we've ever screen shared before.
We have.
We have? Okay, well, I'm going to do this, and you tell me that the other thing about this is they're all in black and white, and that's to eliminate subtle differences in hair color or complexion. He just focuses on the similarities.
Okay.
And so some of these people just have kind of a passing resemblance, but others, it's just scary. For instance, these two.
Let's make this full screen.
Okay, you have the controls. You can do that too, can't you?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the other kicker about it is most of these people don't know each other. They
So
Most of these people have never met.
so these ladies look close enough to be sisters and or close family members.
Now, to me, this is just my opinion. Can you see my cursor here?
Yeah.
Does she look a little older than her?
Mm, it's a difficult one to. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say.
because I was thinking this would be like an older sister to this one. But again, they didn't know each other before they came in. Also, he doesn't pose them. He lets them pick out their clothing. He lets them wear what they want to wear to the photo shoot.
Mhm.
um he will give them color swatches and say, could you wear something along in these range, and bring 2 or 3 outfits. And then he'll pick the color when they get there and he sees what they've got. He'll say, yeah, put these on, please. But he wants them to be as natural as they possibly can. He doesn't pose them. He lets them choose the poses.
They look very. If the problem here is this.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, uh, with all the information you gave me
Mm-hmm.
about all that,
Mm-hmm.
I can break away from what I'm just seeing
Uh-huh.
and say, obviously, we know they're two different people. Obviously, they're smiling the same way. Their
Mm-hmm.
noses have a similarity to it. Their
Right.
cheeks, their smile formation, their
Mm-hmm.
eyes are their eyebrows are
Mm-hmm.
the same thinness. Um,
Yeah.
they don't. If they look close, I'm missing more detail
Okay.
of of a color photo, but
Right.
I
Well, he takes them all in black and white. So just, and that way he says, like, for instance, if there's a subtle difference in the color of their hair, that part's out of it, so you're just looking at the face, the
to
facial
me
features.
they look like they could be sisters or family, and the one on the left
Mm-hmm.
is older than the one on the right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go on to a couple. I got a few pictures here. So I pulled a few of them up. Now, to me, these guys have kind of a passing. Yeah, they do look similar, but I think it's more to do with the hair than anything else. The hair and the glasses more than
The
anything
one
else.
the one guy on the left obviously has a lighter hair color.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if the other guy painted
Right.
his hair, so we don't know that. They're wearing um, the same shaped, more or less,
Mm-hmm.
glasses. The eyes. So what am I supposed to say? That are they related, or are they
Well, no,
doppelgangers?
these people don't even know each other. So they're just it's just he's documenting these cases of people who look. His criteria is, if, for instance, if you saw this guy in the grocery store, then you saw this guy 2 hours later at the gas station, would you think it was the same person? He's not looking for identical twins, although there's a few coming up that are kind of scary.
They
But
look. They look like they could be. The fact that they're standing next to each other.
yeah.
Um, changes everything. But I will just say this: that if you were in a city and you randomly walking around, it wouldn't be unheard of to find people that have some similarities.
Right.
So it's difficult,
Right.
but yeah.
Now, they look very similar.
What's happening here is the lips.
Mm-hmm. The lips and the eyes, to me.
The the lips, the eyes, the nose is slightly different.
Yeah.
The earlobes are slightly different.
Right.
But
Obviously,
yeah,
they comb their hair different, but they look like they are related,
yeah, for sure.
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
These two, to a point, but I think, again, it's more to do with the hair and the overall shape of the face than anything else,
Um,
you know. Now, she's got a different expression on her face than she does, so I don't know that I would see them as, I mean, I could say they're related, but I would know that if I saw her in the grocery store, then 2 hours later saw her at the gas station, I wouldn't think I saw the same person.
um,
To me anyway.
they could be related.
Mhm.
We don't, because there's such subtle. So like the cheeks aren't. So look,
Yeah,
here's the thing that you could be completely. This is such a difficult thing for me because
yeah.
you could be completely related and not
Uh-huh.
look anything like the person.
Yes, yes,
And at the same time, you could be related and have some features that
yeah,
might cross over. And in
yeah,
this case here,
yeah.
they could be sisters, they could be cousins.
Right. That's
Yeah,
that's the way I saw it too. But they don't look like, doppelgangers to me. I mean, there's a passing resemblance, but
no, they're not doppelgangers in my opinion.
yeah. These two are kind of along the same lines. The eyes and the smile are very, very similar.
Yeah, the eyes are similar, the smiles are similar. You could probably pass them for. They're not. You're giving me tough things because it could be any
Yeah.
of the things you could.
Yeah,
So I would say that they look pretty darn close to each other.
they do. They look like they would be related
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
These two, I don't know.
jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would have included them in the book, 'cause I think there are more differences than similarities, personally.
Their overall look, you could definitely say that that they would be related.
Yeah, but again, if I saw this guy at the grocery store, then 2 hours later saw him at the gas station, I wouldn't think they were the same guy. I would think they were two different people. you
Yeah,
know.
but I think that that would be removing the fact that it's all monotone.
Sure.
It would help a lot. But yeah, I would still call these people pretty darn related. But yeah,
Then these two, they're a lot more similar.
my goodness, they don't
She,
know each other.
no, they don't know each other. They didn't before this photo shoot. Now she has much higher cheekbones and much more pronounced cheekbones than she does. But other than that, those two are sisters.
Um, Not only that,
Mm-hmm.
which is true, if you look at the chin,
Mm-hmm.
they both have the little
Yep. The little cleft. Yeah.
yeah,
This is one of
and
those spooky ones.
yeah, that's insane. That's
Mhm.
insane.
Uh,
Boy,
those two are another one that's scary. Because I mean, they could be twins. One's obviously a little taller than the other, but I mean, they could be sisters. If I saw her at the grocery store, then saw her at the gas station, I would think I was talking to the same person.
yeah. I mean, well, no, I wouldn't think. I don't know. It's a tough one. They look pretty much the same, like the same, but I'm judging height as well,
Yeah.
and this and that. I'm being difficult with it because, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah, but you're right. I mean, standing next to one another, you can tell how tall they are, but if you saw them from a distance, you wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, if they weren't together.
yeah. If I met one and then met the
Mhm.
other one, and I knew they were different people, I would say, you know who you look like, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah, really, really.
Yeah,
Okay, here's one that is fairly close. I mean, I can see several differences. I think, again, he's basing it on hair and glasses, but I can see kind of a resemblance, but I don't think they look like they're related to
my
me
goodness.
anyway.
The one has the cleft
Hmm. On the chin.
um, on the chin. The noses are relatively, roughly the same kind of, sort of. Boy, yeah, you could say they were family. They looked like doppelgangers to a degree.
Mm. Okay, now we're going to do the two scary ones for me, two scary pictures. I've already did that one. These two, I
Yeah,
mean, I would, if those aren't brothers, I don't know what to say. But these are two guys in Germany that live in two completely different towns they've never met before.
yeah, yeah. Everything from the chin to the nose. Their
Yep.
mustaches, for goodness sakes.
Look at the way the hair comes over the ear. The ears tuck in about the same way. Obviously, there's a slight height differential, but the shape of the face, the whole thing, they look like brothers.
Yeah, yep.
That's all there is to that one. But probably the most impressive one to me,
Oh wow.
yeah. And these are two girls in the Netherlands. They both live in different cities, had never met one another before. The eyes and the lips are what does it for me. The noses are different, but the eyes and the lips. I
The
mean,
shape of the head.
well, she's a little bit more in profile. You can see more of her ear, so that may have something to do with that. But they look, that's sisters to me.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying look at the
Hmm.
on the right hand side.
Hmm.
Follow the trail of from the top of the outer edge of the eyes on both of them, on the outer
Hmm.
edge of the face, and notice the little hill of
Yeah.
their cheek, and it goes down, and the curve of their jaw. And so, I
Hmm.
mean, they are practically. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And it is strange to me that, I mean, they're both in the Netherlands, which does not have a huge population. The last two were in Germany, which, has a fairly decent sized population. So you can kind of expect, maybe somebody would have a similar appearance to another. But again, these are all their own clothes. He didn't tell them what to wear. He didn't tell them how to pose. He didn't tell them how to do their hair. He applies no makeup. He does no photo retouching at all. They just come in off the street with 3 or 4 different outfits that match the color palette that he gave them. And he didn't tell them what style of clothes to wear or anything like that. He just gave them 3 or 4 colors and said, choose your outfits that are in these colors and bring 2 or 3 outfits. Then he'll look at them and say, okay, put these on and we'll meet you out there. And then they come out and it's like, holy cow, they're looking at twins. You know,
Well, that's
it's really, really spooky, but it's just one of those things that I thought was cooler than heck. And these two were probably the closest, in my opinion. Then,
yeah,
well, I take that back. There was also these two.
yeah,
They were also very, very close
yep,
to me. So I just thought it was one of those cool things that we normally wouldn't talk about, but that is, God, that is so weird to me. So my question to you is, have you ever met someone who looked so much like somebody else you thought it was that other person?
I've got the perfect real story for you.
Okay.
I used to work in the Everglades, and for the first few years, we had our crew, and I would work the kitchen on certain days and ride airboats on other days, and on other days I would do maintenance of the place. We all traded places, right? Not everybody. Some people were just drivers or gator wrestlers and this and that. But I had multiple jobs throughout in order to take care of them. And there was a friend of mine that would come in, and he had long hair, black long hair, and he was a chubby guy. And we hit it off good. We'd talk about stuff rock and roll music and just stuff because we were basically the same age. So we hit it off and stuff. And so for the first few, I guess maybe year and a half, we'd always talk and this and that. So I went away for the weekend, one weekend, and I came back, and it was my kitchen day. And I came in, and I'm getting stuff ready, and then here comes my friend. He walks in, and I turn around, and he walks past me, and I turn around and I say, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" And he turned around, and he said to me, "Hey, dude." And I looked at him, and his face had a slight, it was my friend, but his face slightly was, for me, when I saw it, I said, something terrible has happened. Like his spirit has been, something is going on, something in his face. And I didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Hey, dude," I just walked away and kept doing what I did, but it was bothering me because he looked, his cheeks, something was different. And I was bothered by it. And then I came up to another guy. I said, "Dude, doesn't so-and-so look slightly different today?" They said, "No, dude, that's his twin." The twin came in, said hi to me, didn't bother telling me, I mean, why
he was
and I spent, I don't know how long that day, like saying, man, but I accepted it. I accepted it as, well, something happened there. I can't explain it, but it was troubling because the slight variation, even though they're like
the identical twins, yeah,
they're identical twins, but even then, there's a slight enough to notice and you to say, no, this is the real one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, his brother was like, "Hey, dude, what's up?"
Yeah.
He didn't. So yeah.
But he okay, I'm gonna throw something at you.
How about that for a story?
I dated a twin. Okay. When I lived in California before I moved back up here to Oregon, so I was 16. I dated a twin. I'm gonna. So I know a little bit about kind of their the way twins are, the way they act, the way they behave. It depends on personality and depends on sense of humor, of course. But I'm willing to bet you that that guy that came in that day that you thought was off, I'm willing to bet you he knew exactly what was going on and didn't want to let you off the hook.
Yeah. Yeah.
I dated a twin, and her sister. I dated Renee, and her sister's name was Renat, and they loved to switcheroo on people and watch their reactions. Just something as simple and stupid as at the movies. They would always dress very similar to one another, but there would be subtle little differences just to see if anybody noticed, because they would love to do that. Renee would go get popcorn, a big old tub of popcorn, huge super tanker popcorn, and come in, leave, come around, and then like 45 seconds later, Renat would go in and get the same size popcorn. And they'd be like, damn, how fast did you shovel that down?
Yeah.
And but there'd be something very, maybe she was wearing different earrings just to see did anybody notice, or be standing in line talking with somebody at McDonald's or something like that and say, would you hold my space? I got to run to the bathroom real quick. And then Renee would duck into the bathroom and Renat would come out
Yeah.
and just
Best thing to
stand there
do.
and then pick up the conversation and just start, and they would get together. Okay, so the dude, he's wearing a blue shirt and he's got this, that, and the other. Okay, fine. And just come in and just start asking the same questions. And then suddenly both of them would show up and let them off the hook.
You could really mess with people.
And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. They would do all of the things you have seen in pop culture. They would go to each other's classes and mess with teachers. They would, one would be late for this, the other would go. Oh, I don't want to go out with him. You want to go out with him? No, I'm dating Mark. Oh, okay. All right. Looks like I got to go out with him or what have you. There were a couple of times I almost asked, all right, which one are you? But I didn't. But they looked so similar that when I went over to the house to pick one up, I waited for one of them to hug me, and then I knew I was safe. I
Wow.
didn't initiate anything because I didn't want to make that mistake.
That's a pickle.
A big pickle.
That's a pickle because you don't want to mess up on that one.
No, but they were fun people. They were happy people, and they just liked to mess with people. And they took advantage. They took advantage of it, and they loved it. They just reveled in it. So,
But it can really mess up those around you because,
oh, big time.
Yeah.
Well, I asked their mother one time. I said, "Okay, be honest. Can you tell them apart?" She goes, "Sometimes it's hard." Really? For you, and you're their mama. Sometimes it's hard.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what she said anyway. Now, how much she was pulling my leg, I don't know.
She had to be pulling your leg to some degree because I'm sure that I wouldn't know, but I would imagine that a mother knows all the subtleties, enough of them because it's her
Oh,
blood.
you would think, but I mean, come here, Richard, Roy, Rutabaga. What is your name, boy? Don't you lie to me because you live here, and I'll find out who you are. That
The
kind of
weird,
thing.
the weirdest thing about that situation of mine
Mhm.
is that I perceived, even though I acknowledged him as
Mhm.
his brother, not knowing that they were twins,
Mhm.
I perceived a very strong problem that something had happened.
Yeah.
I d- Obviously it's the visual
Mhm.
variations, but was there something more like
Well,
the person's conduct, slight as it might have
yeah.
been?
I can tell you there was a difference in the way Renee and Renat acted. There was a difference in Renee was a lot more outgoing, but she knew how her sister acted, so she could put on that more reserved act herself. It was more difficult for Renat to be outgoing. She was quieter and tended to kind of just keep to herself and observe. And Renee could do that. Renat couldn't be more outgoing. She didn't feel comfortable doing that. So Renee would be the one who did all the acting.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it was a fun family, and they were always very happy go lucky, and always laughing and everything else. It was just a lot of fun.
Is there anything such as identical triplets?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But they were twins in appearance, but they were two different people.
Oh
If you
yeah.
if you spoke to them individually or even together, sitting there together, all things being equal, you knew who you were talking to at the time. They were two different people. So they were identical only in appearance. Personalities were slightly different, but and one liked different colors than the other and things like that. Renee was more tomboyish, and Renat was a girly girl. That's all there was to it. That's not to say that Renee didn't like being a girl, just that she would rather be in blue jeans and a t-shirt than in a dress. She would wear dresses, but she was more comfy in blue jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't date them long. That was just before we moved back up here.
Well, that was a good because I had experienced that one thing, so it worked that I had
Mhm.
a story, um, but they could do a lot of damage if
Oh
they want.
yeah. Oh, they did get into a lot of. Uh, I hesitate to say trouble because they got caught a few times, of course. But it is like I said, Renee would go to Renat's classes if Renat wasn't feeling it, and Renat would go to Renee's classes if she wasn't feeling it, or they would just do it
To have fun.
be ornery, to have a little fun and see did the English teacher notice the difference.
That's
You know,
hilarious.
they had a couple of classes together, which kind of you know
Yeah,
caused a little bit of a thing in and of itself. You
that
know,
has to be a joyful thing for parents to get the news of twins are on their way. That has
yeah.
to be a because that's I don't want to say rare, but it's surely rarer than not.
Well, yeah, it's less common, let's put it that way, but it's not necessarily rare.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's anyway, so I just thought that his project and it's an ongoing thing. He's been doing this for like 25 years, 25 years. And the project is ongoing. He's published one book and he's working on another one now.
very
And
interesting.
it's just photo studies of these people who look so much alike, and that's part of his criteria. If you saw one in one place and then a couple hours later saw the other one in another place, you would think it was the same person.
All of them were very close.
Yes, they
Either
were.
way,
I think a couple of them were just there's a resemblance there, but a couple of them were spooky. How could these people look so similar with completely different genetic trees?
eliminating color
Hmm.
makes it difficult because that's also another element of the whole
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
Are you ready to land the plane?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready whenever you are, my friend.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, we want to thank you all for coming out. This is the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. And we go live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern and 9. We go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern and 6 p.m. Uh, West Coast time, and here on your Trampled Underfoot podcast show on YouTube. We also have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com, You can catch podcasts, drop them into your listen later by pressing the Wayback Machine button. We have all our past episodes over there, and we have a page over on Facebook. We can drop us some show suggestions, and we're also sponsored by
Harneo Media, your web source. If you're looking to get or increase your web presence, look no further than Harneo Media. They will take care of your needs. If you're looking for a web host and you're an experienced web page designer yourself, just need a host, check out Harneo Media. They're your people. If you don't know anything at all about websites but know you need one, check out Harneo Media. They are your people over there. They'll get you taken care of. That's harnealmedia.com, HARNEAL media.com, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot podcast.com.
All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for hanging out. We'll catch you next time, but be safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. Good things to you. See ya.
Peace.